Somalia, the most strategic country in the world. Welcome to a story of a land where geography meets destiny. A nation whose location has shaped trade routes, power struggles, and global interests for centuries. This is Somalia, not just a country in the Horn of Africa, but the most strategic country in the world. Stay with us as we explore how Somalia's position has influenced empires, fueled conflicts, and now holds the key to regional and global geopolitics. 1. The gatekeeper of the Indian Ocean. Somalia sits at the crossroads of Africa and the Middle East, guarding the Gulf of Aden and controlling access to the Suez Canal, one of the busiest maritime choke points in the world. Every year, nearly 10% of global trade flows through these waters. Oil, gas, and essential goods pass by Somalia's shores, making it a silent sentinel of the global economy. Control that strait, and you control access to Europe, Asia, and Africa. This is why more than 21 ships pass this way, each year carrying oil, gas, and goods vital to the global economy. Its 300-kilometer coastline, the longest in mainland Africa, offers ports, fishing zones, and potential naval dominance. Now just imagine the power that comes with controlling or influencing this coast. That's not just a statistic, it's a strategic weapon. 2. A legacy of trade, civilization, and global trade. But Somalia's strategic value isn't new. Over 10 years ago, Somali ports were already buzzing with activity. Long before modern borders, Somalia was part of the legendary Silk Road of the seas. Merchants from Persia, India, Arabia, and even China docked here, trading spices, incense, textiles, and ivory. Mogadishu, once known as the City of Islam, was a thriving port city in the Middle Ages, connected to empires from Cairo to Calicut. The Somali coast wasn't just a transit point, it was a melting pot of cultures, religion, and innovation. Somalia was a bridge connecting the African interior to global trade. Gold from the Great Lakes, ivory from East Africa, even enslaved people tragically moved through here. This coast was Africa's link to the world. 3. The scramble for Somalia. In the 1800s, the European powers took notice. As European powers scrambled for Africa in the late 19th century, Somalia became a coveted prize. Why? Because whoever controlled Somalia controlled one of the world's most valuable naval routes. The British wanted Berbera, the Italians wanted Mogadishu, and the French anchored in Djibouti. Somalia was split, occupied, and manipulated not for its land, but for its location, and not because Somalia had diamonds or oil, but because of its position. This division would leave scars, sow tension, and shape the country's future conflicts. They knew whoever held this corner of Africa could monitor and control maritime movement through the Red Sea and Indian Ocean. After independence in 1960, Somalia quickly became a Cold War pawn. During the Cold War, Somalia again found itself at the center of a global chessboard. The US and the Soviet Union both courted Somalia, offering military aid in exchange for strategic bases. The Soviets saw opportunity. They built naval bases, trained troops, and armed Somalia for influence over Indian Ocean access. The Soviet Union first allied with Somalia, establishing military infrastructure. But when Somalia expelled the Soviets in 1977, the US rushed in to take their place. In the span of 2 decades, Somalia hosted both Soviet and American operations, a rare and powerful position that very few countries could offer. It was never about Somalia's internal politics, it was about geography, a launch pad into the Red Sea, a listening post near the Middle East, a presence in the Indian Ocean. 5. The war, the fall, and the forgotten. When the Cold War ended, global interest in Somalia seemed to vanish, just as the country spiraled into civil war. The world watched and largely turned away as Somalia fractured. But while the headlines focused on conflict, pirates, and famine, the waters off Somalia remained vital to global shipping. And foreign powers never really left. They just became quieter. But one thing didn't change: Somalia's strategic importance. Even during collapse, piracy in Somali waters sent global shockwaves. NATO, the US, and EU launched naval operations to protect trade routes. Foreign powers didn't care who ruled Somalia, they only cared about keeping those waters open. 6. A new era of geopolitical interest. Today, Somalia is once again in the spotlight. China's Belt and Road Initiative eyes East Africa. Turkey has established a military base and invested in infrastructure. The US and EU patrol Somali waters against piracy. Gulf states like the UAE are building ports to counter Iran's influence. Somalia is no longer a passive pawn. It is becoming a player, and its strategic location is its greatest asset. 7. Somalia's strategic assets. Beyond location, Somalia is sitting on untapped potential. Offshore oil and gas reserves in the Indian Ocean, rare earth minerals and uranium in Puntland, and the interior blue economy zones with massive fishing and energy potential. And Somalia is poised to be more than just a player, but a regional power. 8. The port race. Somalia's ports are now at the heart of a silent competition. Berbera, managed by DP World, aims to rival Djibouti. Mogadishu's port is seeing Turkish upgrades. Bosaso and Kismayo are rising as key access points to East Africa's interior. Everyone wants a piece of the Somali coastline, not just for fishing, but for trade, energy, and regional dominance. Future. The narrative is shifting. Somalia is no longer just a war-torn nation. It is reclaiming its position one step at a time. Strategically located, rich in resources, a vital link between Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Somalia's destiny is not written in its past, but in its potential. This is more than geography. It is a nation reborn, a gateway to global power. This is Somalia, the most strategic country in the world. 10. Conclusion. As we close this journey, one truth becomes clear. Somalia's value is far greater than what headlines suggest. It is not just a land of struggle, it is a land of strategic brilliance, born from its unmatched position on the map. For centuries, its shores have drawn the eyes of merchants, empires, colonizers, and modern superpowers. And now, in a world racing for influence, energy, and connectivity, Somalia stands at the center, not by force, not by demand, but by the quiet, unstoppable power of location. The Horn of Africa isn't just a region, it's a gateway, a pivot, and Somalia is its anchor. The world is once again looking at Somalia not for what it lacks, but for what it offers. And if its people can harness peace, stability, and vision, then this nation often overlooked could rise as a regional force, a continental leader, and a global player. This is not just a story about geography, it's a story about destiny. The rise of regional power struggles. As global competition intensifies, regional players are stepping in too. The UAE wants to outmaneuver Qatar and Iran by controlling Somali ports. Saudi Arabia seeks influence to secure its own maritime interests. Ethiopia, landlocked but ambitious, sees Somalia as its gateway to the sea. Egypt, threatened by Ethiopia's Nile Dam, also watches Somalia closely. These aren't small rivalries, they're part of a growing regional power web, and Somalia sits in the middle of it. The role of the Somali diaspora. Somalia's strength doesn't only lie within its borders. Its diaspora spread across North America, Europe, and the Middle East sends billions in remittances each year. But more importantly, it brings back ideas, capital, skills, and diplomacy. From tech startups in Mogadishu to construction in Garo, the diaspora is rebuilding Somalia, and in doing so, shaping its global relevance. They are unofficial ambassadors, business developers, and bridge builders to the world. The untapped power of the Somali youth. Over 70% of Somalia's population is under 30. That's not a challenge, it's a strategic advantage. This generation grew up in the shadow of conflict, but is now writing a new future. They're digital natives, entrepreneurs, activists, and creatives using tech and media to connect Somalia to the world. If empowered through education, peace, and investment, this youth bulge could become Somalia's greatest strategic asset. Environmental and climate strategy. The climate crisis is reshaping global priorities, and Somalia is on the front lines. While droughts and floods challenge food security, Somalia's geographic position also makes it ideal for solar and wind energy development. Blue economy innovation, coastal farming, aquaculture, and ecotourism. Environmental diplomacy within East African nations that lead in climate resilience will lead in influence. Somalia could, with the right support, become a model for green recovery in fragile states. Somalia's strategic future. This future isn't far-fetched, it's possible. Because the real power of Somalia isn't just its location, it's what it can do with it. This is Visit the World, and this was Somalia, the most strategic country in the world.